History is full of reversals that never make it into the textbook. From mining towns and royal courts to hurricanes, earthquakes, and fishing trophies, these are the records that change how the past looks. Several Idaho mining towns were majority Chinese before violence and expulsion cut them down. In one 1870 count, Chinese residents made up 4,274 of 14,999 people across the territory. Chinese immigrants arrived in Idaho Territory in large numbers during the 1860s, mainly for mining work. In several camps and towns, that migration was big enough to shape the whole population. The 1870 United States Census recorded 4,274 Chinese people in Idaho out of 14,999 total residents. That share explains how some mining communities could tip into a Chinese majority. Then discriminatory laws targeted Chinese residents with special taxes and limits on certain work. By the 1880s, violence and expulsions forced Chinese communities out of several municipalities. The population kept falling, reaching 859 by 1910 and 208 by 1940. By the 2010s, Idaho's Chinese American community grew again, especially in the Treasure Valley. A half-naked ascetic gets the position of honor ahead of Emperor Jahangir in a mobile painting. The work is Jahangir visiting the ascetic Jadrup, painted by Govardhan around 1620. It shows Jahangir entering Jadrup's cave dwelling. Inside that cave, the ascetic is shown half-naked and seated in the honored place. The emperor appears as a visitor, not the visual center. That compositional choice reverses court hierarchy for the scene. Spiritual authority is placed above royal display in the painting's arrangement. Now in the Louvre in Paris, the painting preserves that formal reversal. Govardhan's image still shows a cave, an emperor, and an ascetic in the honored place. The Tudors' earliest distinguished ancestor was a Welsh nobleman, not a king. Ednafed Ficon ap Cynfrig stood inside the court of Gwynedd, not on a throne. Ednafed Ficon served as Disdain, or seneschal, of the Kingdom of Gwynedd in North Wales. He held that post under the princes of Gwynedd for almost 30 years. A seneschal began as a household officer, but Ednafed's office grew into the prince's closest advisor and agent. Under Llywelyn IV, his work covered diplomacy, judging, and military leadership. That shift put Ednafed near the center of Gwynedd's power. He was no longer only managing a court, he was helping shape decisions for the princes themselves. Because of that role, Ednafed became the major Welsh figure remembered at the start of Tudor ancestry. His legacy begins with office, service, and the changing power of Gwynedd. Bernice Tongate was rejected by the Navy, then became the model for its recruiting poster. The same woman who could not enlist first ended up in uniform on paper. Bernice Tongate was part of Navy circles during World War I as a yeomanette. She had already tried to enlist once and been turned away. After the rejection, she said she wished she was a man. Howard Chandler Christie overheard her and asked her to pose in a sailor's uniform for a poster. 10 days later, she enlisted as a yeoman. She became the first Californian woman to do it. Her path ran from rejection to image, then to service. A poster pose and a Navy oath became part of the same wartime story. A mayor suggested firing a nuclear bomb at a hurricane, and Truman said no. Harry S. Truman had become president in 1945 after Franklin D. Roosevelt died. He was already dealing with a country moving from war into a new kind of power. The suggestion reached the White House as a proposed fix for a dangerous storm. Truman rejected it, refusing to aim a nuclear weapon at weather. That decision kept the idea from becoming policy. It also showed that even in the nuclear age, the president treated a hurricane as a problem to manage, not a target to attack. Among Truman's early post-war choices, this one stands out because the proposal was real enough to reach him, and he left the bomb out of the sky. A textile factory apprentice became head of government in the Uzbek SSR. Abdudzhabar Abdurrahmanov began in factory work before entering Soviet politics. He was a Soviet and Uzbek politician in the Uzbek SSR. He rose through the Soviet system, where administrative posts could carry workers into state leadership. His path reached the top government office in the Republic. From 1938 to 1950, he served as head of government. The title changed from chairman of the Council of People's Commissars to chairman of the Council of Ministers. That career shows how far a Soviet administrative path could reach in the Uzbek SSR. A factory apprentice could end up holding the republic's top chair. A 1854 earthquake hit San Salvador so hard that El Salvador's government left its capital. It struck on April 16 and measured 6.5 to 6.6 on the Richter scale. No more than 100 people were killed, but the city itself was badly broken. With San Salvador damaged beyond use, the government relocated to Cojutepeque while planning a replacement capital called Nueva San Salvador. For 4 years, officials worked from Cojutepeque while builders laid out Nueva San Salvador as a new capital site. In 1858, the government chose to return to San Salvador instead of staying in the new city. The rebuilt plan never became the permanent seat. Ernest Hemingway turned the title of his novel into a fishing trophy, and the winner got his signed book too. He was Ernest Hemingway, the American novelist and journalist behind The Old Man and the Sea. His name already carried weight in American literature. Hemingway sponsored the Old Man and the Sea trophy for the West Palm Beach Fishing Club. The prize name matched one of his best-known novels. The winner also received an autographed copy of the novel. That tied the club's prize directly to Hemingway's own book. It became a rare club tradition where a literary title was also a real fishing award. Hemingway later won the 1954 Nobel Prize in Literature. If one of these stories surprised you, the rest are just as unlikely but fully documented. Subscribe for more factual history, and comment with the one you want expanded next.